extraordinary.
So what is it they sort of thing in the heart, or how did you find the heart?
Yeah, no,
And that was it was
they're
they
doing
did around there.
various tests and such. There's still probably not.
Well, welcome everybody to the Australian Numismatic Society's December 2022 meeting. It's our meeting number 1232. We've got apologies from Les Carlisle, John Minikos, Robert Tonner, Ron Bolden, Joe Detling, Lorette Villarong, Harry Scott, Murray Brad, and Colin Pitchfork. Are there any other people you know that... Simon Cornell couldn't make it tonight, Rod. And I don't have a pen. Are you listening, Rod?
Yes,
Good.
go ahead.
I put it in the apologies book.
Oh, man's disease.
Okay, we'll move straight on because the December meeting's always predominantly been a quick meeting because of the fact that we like to go into the Christmas festivities. So we'll move into general business. Our next meeting is going to be on Monday the 9th of January at Phil's house. This is where we were at. The topic is Portugal and its colonies. So yeah, the auction number 50, which Rod's running, will close on Saturday the 7th of January at 8 p.m. As you know, we finished it a few days early, so we don't have that advantage of the final bids anymore. So how's that working, Rod?
Pretty good.
Yeah?
Yeah, you have to make maximum bids and you're fighting everyone else, which is really good for the ANS and the vendors.
Okay,
What are you
yeah,
putting it up, right?
Yeah. Peter still has a record though. He's paid the most for any one lot
yeah?
So when
at the last auction. $500 for an ANS medal.
$500 for an ANS medal.
5. 9 or 5? 9 or 5?
500.
500, yeah.
500.
Congratulations, Peter.
Sounds good.
Yeah, he didn't like it, but
520.
Hmm?
520.
oh, sorry, corrected. 520. The underbidder paid 500
Yeah.
How much
or
buys?
510.
Was the underbidder a bit upset?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Was the buyer's premium added?
No, there's no buyer's premium.
I don't know.
When
Okay.
will it be online, right? The next option?
It's online now,
Is it? I didn't check.
but there's still another 100 lots to add.
We should congratulate our auctioneer too, by the way, guys, because my friends in England, they reckon they can only do 2 auctions a year. And this bloke just keeps on knocking them out. So, well,
Okay, so as I was saying, that the auction number 50 closes on Saturday, 7th of January at 8 p.m. and that way any of the winning lots that the members here in Sydney have won, they can be collected at the meeting on the 9th. So that makes it a bit easier for everybody concerned. Okay, Ron will give us an update on the sale of Phil's house, because apparently it has been sold.
Yep. Just before we get there, some of you may not remember Paul Neumann sitting at the back, waving to us now. That's Paul, our long-lost member who's now living in Indonesia, so we don't see him very often. And Gilbert Wong is our new trial member. He was at Nobles last month, so a few of the members weren't here. I don't think you were at Nobles, were you? So that's Gilbert
okay,
at the
sorry.
back. So
I should have done.
coming to 2 meetings, 2 in a row. Hooray! Welcome. I hope you're enjoying them.
Yeah.
Right, giving you an update on Phil's house.
Maybe next month you can sit closer.
I will, yeah.
But he's not deaf like the rest of us. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
The sale of Phil's house, this building has been sold. The contracts will be exchanged at the end of January. Philas sold it for 7.25 million, the 3 floors. And they now have to find another location to move to. Good day. Welcome back.
How are you?
Yeah. Good to see our other trial member for a second time.
Yes, run out of ink. Oh no, it's all right this way.
Terrific.
Good to see
Have
you
a
all.
seat.
Mind if I sit here? I don't hear too well, so.
Good to see you, John.
None of us are too good these days.
Yeah, so the building has been sold for 7.25 million. They're now looking to purchase another place. They had looked at some warehouses in Silverwater, but Silverwater is an out-of-the-way place.
That'll do, mate.
Yeah, to
Happy
get
to
there.
talk water.
To get there, you had to take a train to Auburn and then a bus to Silverwater. There's no sort of direct way to it, so I don't think that's going to work.
No.
But basically, yesterday I attended the IBNS meeting at the Roseville Club, which is a very good venue and it could work for us. It's almost directly across the road from Roseville train station. You literally get off the train, cross Pacific Highway, 3 houses down, and then you're at the Roseville Club. If you're driving in, there's a little lane behind, because there's shops on the Pacific Highway, there's a lane behind with parking for about 30, 40 cars. So it's easy. Granted, yesterday was a Sunday, but still, it's a venue that could fit, especially because it's on the train run. The IBNS meet on the Sunday morning and stay for lunch. I'm suggesting, if we do decide to go there, that we have the same day. We meet for lunch and have it in the Sunday afternoon in the big room. They don't pay any rent at all. The people they're happy as long as some people buy the food, so they get their money from the food and drink. It could work very nicely for us. Anyway, we'll have to see where Philas goes and what's happened, because we've paid rent here till June, actually till May. June, I think we're in Port Macquarie. So have to see what happens there. I'm expecting to get an update tomorrow night, because the 2 members who are very active in doing the scouting and locating and checking out the new venues, they both belong to the stamp club that I go to tomorrow night. So I'll find out more then from them exactly what is happening. But I don't believe anything has been found as yet. But we will definitely be here in this room next month. By our meeting next month, I should know whether we will be here in February. But as the way things look, we probably could be here in February. When the contracts are exchanged, which is 26th or something of January, Philas has the opportunity to rent for 3 months. It's well and good, but the rent is $1,000 a day. I mean, they've got 3 floors, but $1,000 a day is a lot of money. So they have the incentive to look hard and find somewhere and move quickly.
How quickly can they move? Look at them.
Well, there's a bit of stuff here, but downstairs is where everything is. It's all locked away. They have auction lots and everything else. So, yeah, it's going to take some effort and some time. But at $1,000 a day, that's incentive even to hire someone to come and do it, because Philas relies on volunteers. We shall find out. The second item I have here is an update on the Cab magazine. Cab magazine has been produced for the last 10-15 years by John Mulhall, who's done a really good job. But John's been very ill recently, and his doctor told him when he came out of hospital and what next, that he was not to work anymore. He had to really take life very easy there. I'm not sure exactly what happened to him. So the doctor's instruction is, no, you don't go back to work. He wanted to continue running the Cab magazine, Coin and Banknote magazine. And Doc said no. But I found out yesterday that he's managed to sell it. And it's been sold to Scott Waterman. In the Cab magazine, his father, I forget what his name is, something Waterman, answers all the letters. And from what I was told by Tony James yesterday, Scott had phoned him to say he's purchased the magazine and he's going to continue running it. And would Tony continue to supply articles, etc.
Yeah.
So the Cab magazine is still happening. It'll be back in publication under new owners. So we'll still have a Coin and Banknote magazine.
Okay. Well, that's good news at least.
Yeah,
All right.
good news of sorts.
Is there any other general business? Well, my general business is that my chemotherapy is finished. It was finished probably about 4 or 5 weeks ago now, and I'm still trying to get over the chemo garbage that they put in your body. I had my CT scan and bone scans last week so that the specialist could work out whether or not they've got rid of it all. I see my specialist tomorrow to get good news. It's going to be good news because I know it's going to be good news. So,
Good Christmas
So-
present.
yeah, so I'm sort of pretty pleased with it. You know, I still have a lot of aches and pains because of chemo, but well, yeah, that'll subside, and you know, the message tomorrow is going to be, in my opinion, that I've got rid of it. So that's the main thing.
It was 5 weeks since your last chemo, was it?
Probably about 4.5 weeks now. Yeah. 'Cause, they did say that I'll probably still be on hormone therapy for a few months still, but I'll find out more about that tomorrow.
Oh,
But
well.
yeah, I think the fact that if they're happy with the results of the scans, we'll have good news about the fact that that the prostate is okay and the cancer's gone. So hopefully that's going to be the good news for tomorrow.
That's
All right,
good.
we'll move on to recent acquisitions. Does anyone bring any recent acquisitions?
I think Tony has, well, he has some item of interest.
Okay, we'll go with Paul Neumann first.
And George wanted to say a few words too.
Okay. No, not yet, George.
You guys break it.
Paul first. No. Him first, then you.
Right. Some or most of you might be aware that I also, besides collecting, I also do a lot of trading in coins and paper money. And we go for sources around the world, mainly auctions, to find interesting items.
Paul, can you speak up a little
Sorry,
bit?
and I go and bid in auctions around the world to pick up interesting items. The only problem is that sometimes when I buy items, I don't really feel like selling it. So I'm not much of a trader. But I found something that I would like to share with the membership, and this is something quite interesting. I picked it up in an auction in the United States, which is actually more dealing with autographed items. So what this is, and I'll show you this picture over here. Okay.
Can we take it out of the plastic?
I prefer not to, unless
Just that you get
it
the
reflects, does it?
reflections. You can't really see it very well.
Okay, let's see. Was that all right? For the
Yep.
note itself? Okay.
That could be a better.
Just focus on it.
Just see what it is. Just do it.
Okay.
With a higher tilt.
Yeah.
Yep, that's better.
Okay. This is to commemorate the 300th anniversary of the city of Bogota in Colombia. Now, Colombia was in the 1930s. It did quite well during the Great Depression, which hit other countries a lot harder, mainly because of its agricultural exports. And so there was quite a lot of money to develop the city of Bogota and to turn it into a very vibrant and well-managed city in terms of avenues and parks. And the other thing is that what was important is that the drums of war were also being heard in South America in the 1930s, and there was a big effort to bring the South American countries together in kind of a group, and this was under the United States. So what actually happened was that the American flyers, airmen, Air Force representatives, flew down to Argentina, and then from Argentina flew back up to Colombia, and they were there at the time. And that autograph that you have there is the presidential autograph. The president of the Colombia in 1938, Eduardo Santos. So I thought, wow, this is an interesting item, and I think this is a terrific note. And the back of it is the scene of Bogota, the founding of Bogota, and then in the 16th, it's Bogota de Santa Fe. Okay, and since this is a numismatic society and there's various items, very interesting, especially when I put in the research, is that this is a metal. You always find the metal only in different auction companies, mainly in one in Florida, which deals in cobs and other South American coinage. I never managed to find this metal holder, so I don't know if this was just issued for VIPs or whatever. So it actually describes where this metal was held, and you'd say, okay, well, the metals, what's so great about that? If I can just turn the metal around, here, this portrait is Ferdinand, I think the 7th, if I'm not mistaken, 7th or 8th, the last Spanish king when Colombia was still under Spanish domination. And this is the only solid portrait note, the only solid portrait of that they used. So they didn't actually use this during the colonial times. This is the only solid portrait that exists of him. And this was, 150 years after the end of the colonies, as it were. So this is two items that go together. The airmen that went down, they were also meeting in terms of, they were both Freemasons, so that's also an interesting part which I discovered on Wikipedia. So and this kind of tightening things up in terms of contact. So Eduardo Santos was a president for quite a while in Colombia until the World War II, and then he's considered as one of the leaders of one of the political leaders in Colombia. In the late 40s, things started getting more difficult, and there was also a civil war period. So there was a definite period of instability. And Eduardo Santos was also founder of one of Colombia's major, or Bogota's major newspapers. So that is my bringing in of Colombia. Thank you very much. And then I've got something to say about the coins later.
Would you like to leave them on the table and
Sure.
we can view them later?
Certainly.
Okay, George.
George, you're on.
Today, numismatics is plagued by a curse. The curse of forged coins in circulation and in numismatic collections. In Australia, not going to the very early times, in the 30s we had M&R, two gentlemen in Newtown, and then Redfern and Marrickville, making 1928 florins. Alloy coins, silver plated, very shiny, and propped up at the banks, and they were destroyed by being banned. I managed to get a collection of those, which Kurt Jaggard ended with. Warren, a certain gentleman I knew, decided to have a go with the Adelaide pound, and he ended up in the cling. Some 15 years ago, a lady in Sydney with her husband decided to print some $50 banknotes, and I believe she's behind bars. In our association, we had a couple of American coins which were forgeries, but they were advertised as such, and they were only sold in the club or the association to members. Unfortunately, very much to my disappointment, big houses like Noble and IS Right Status have put up coins which they advertised as forgeries in large numbers, 11 American piece dollars. You could run a magnet on them, and they were silver plated steel, and which is only polluting the numismatic collections, because somebody could buy those only to flog them. Some time ago at Randwick, at the stamp and coin dealers meeting, I found a chap who was flogging American Morgan and peace dollars, and there was a one crowd from Chinatown, Orientals, and they had a special gun for testing the silver content, etc. And they asked me where I got them from, and they said they're forgeries. We don't want them around here. Fantasy coins is a debatable point. A very common one was the American trade dollar. Some were made copies of the original, like this one here. But gaming houses, the Golden Slipper in Nevada, during the Depression and after, put out an extra large token which looks like a peace dollar with a date on it of 1924. I won't call that a forgery unless you were trying to sell it as a as a coin because it was a gaming token. The other one that I can think of, the American 1 cent piece had an Indian head on it, and a $10 gold piece had an Indian head on it. They put out this token, a gaming token with an Indian head on it, with no date in Nevada, and they withdrew them, and that was in late 20s to 30s. I have one here which has a date on it, 1851 I think, was it? Long before the Morgan dollar came out. Beware from now on, a tremendous amount of coins are being duplicated. German states 5 marks, very popular among certain collectors. There's a tremendous amount of forgeries in those. South African, George VI and Queen Elizabeth, 5 shillings, also forgeries. English George V crowns, 5 shillings, only minted for about a decade. The scarce ones, I've seen duplicates of them. Very good forgeries, but I showed one to Jim Noble, and sure enough, it was a bit light on weight. The Australian crown in 1938, the low mintage one, not the 37 but the 38, a product from Taiwan. The countries most guilty are China, Taiwan, Germany. I've seen a 23 halfpenny, Australian halfpenny, which is the scarcest key coin. In 1933, made into a 1933 made into a 23, and it was at the Coffs Harbour markets, and gold, of course, is on them now. So beware of forgeries, especially if you're buying an album of coins. And you will find today amongst them quite a lot of very cheap forgeries. Auction houses, deceased estate, quite a few. We've got one on the Central Coast, always selling forgeries. A tremendous amount of Chinese Chiang Kai-shek,
Sun Yat-sen's, yeah.
junk dollars with the birds in the background, and quite a few. There's so many of them now. Every auction on a Sunday, I went for an inspection on a Saturday a few times, and I was bewildered by the number of forgery coins. You can write a magnet. I got a little one just over them, you know. It's very, very disappointing. No more.
Thank you.
No, that's not your George.
That's not yours.
You got the wrong one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
John, can I borrow your glasses? I went and left mine at home. I think I've done this before, have I not?
What are those motorbikes? You don't know. Just close one eye.
That's better. Anyway. This was once a recent acquisition. I don't know when, I don't know where, and I don't know from whom. I blame COVID for that. It's the Sydney Harbour Bridge, and this is the one that was for the Champion Riveter.
Can I show it on the screen?
Now, I suppose we know about this thing. we've heard about it, we've seen it, most of us, I guess. Jim Noble, you can see that the harbours is American spelling. I got a feeling that it's done deliberate. I know it's very easy to say it's American, but I think it may be deliberate to have the same number of letters there to match up with the bridge, because to squeeze a U in there would squash it down and make it look a bit different. That's just my outward sort of thinking. Any rate, I have a friend of mine who knew I had it after I only found it a matter of some months ago, and he offered me $150 for it. And now he knew and I knew that Jim Noble had it and sold one for $200. And this guy rang me back a few days later, and he'd been running around sort of trying to get the history of this thing. And he said to me, the thing isn't real. He said it's forgery. He said the riveters didn't have this competition, and he said that the competition wasn't held, and I said, well, I didn't know about that. As far as I was concerned, I thought it was ridgy-dig, and you know they did have it, and that's the championships medal for getting it. And I've heard people talk about it. Jim's had it, and all the rest of it. So I sort of brought it in to show you. You guys heard that knowledge about it being forged, and none of the events were real or anything else that you've heard about and seen this medal, haven't you? Of course, for most of us, no? Oh, right. Okay. Well, there's that. I know there's not a hell of a lot of them around, but to suddenly find it's come out of the thing, and this guy's trying to make out to me that it's forgery, well, of course he doesn't want to spend $150, and I wouldn't either. But I thought I'd bring it in tonight just to show you and see if anybody had heard the same sort of story. I'll have to ring Jim or something or other and find out what he thinks about seeing somebody there bought one off him in one of his auctions some years ago.
I would be hard to say that that's a forgery, because it's more of a fantasy if that event didn't really happen. And of course that inscription on the back could have been added later.
Sure.
But I mean, otherwise they've gone to an awful lot of trouble to make what is not of a lot of value, especially if the event never took place.
Well, that's right.
So you wonder, wouldn't you?
Yeah, well, that's it. Well,
I wouldn't try and weigh it. I think the jury's still open on that one.
Well, I do too, and I suppose the only person who could probably help solve it will be Jim himself. Especially
We've got a member in the
I doubt
mountains
Jim's
that
knowledge if he knows that
concentrated
didn't happen.
completely on harbour
There's a,
That's the one.
who?
Ron Bolton.
Ron Bolton.
Oh, yeah, Ron. Yeah,
Yes,
of course.
Right into Harbour Bridge stuff. So.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
That's
I don't think
Rhonda. See if Rhonda knows about it.
Rhonda, I mean, we know Rhonda because we haven't seen her for a while.
No.
But yeah, she's right into Harbour Bridge stuff because
might be
we
able to find something out
swapped things and talked about it for donkey's ages.
Well, contact Paul Hogan. Paul Hogan.
Yeah, I think it's a bit before his time there.
I don't know that, but anyway,
Does he live in
he
Australia?
might even know, you're quite right. It's a shame he used to live in Atlantic Heights too, I should have confounded him.
Tony,
was here
the
a
little
couple of
thing
weeks
down
ago.
the bottom, is that
right, he was.
stamp for saying it's sterling silver?
I have,
TC.
it's got a TC dot, yeah. 51, is it
TG,
a
yeah, it looks
51?
like TG 51
Yeah,
or 31.
also, yeah, it could be, well, it could be 31 because that's 30.
TG or TC 31, yeah.
It could be whatever that might mean, TC.
So it might have been the actual, forget about the inscription on the back, the actual medal might have been just a souvenir medal of the Sydney Harbour Bridge, and obviously they've used that just as a, an extra find, what are we going to make this souvenir of the riveting theme from,
Yeah.
But yeah, so you'd have to.
But they spelled harbour strangely, didn't they? Not the way we would spell it.
With two T's. Is riveter spelt with two T's?
Uh,
I think so. It comes up.
Oh,
Yes.
it's
I'm not sure, actually.
It is
It probably is, isn't it?
Yeah, you're going to Google it when you get home.
I feel Google as it is, but anyway. Yeah, well, anyway, that's it. Think about it. Ask anybody you might know anything about it, because I'd like to know. Ring this bloke up and say, I'll take me 150.
Thank you. Actually, it's nice to see it because I hadn't seen it before, so
Yeah,
interesting item.
yeah.
Ross, have you got something to share?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Stagger along. Oh. Oh. There you go. Pop that up. I thought that'd show up better than bringing the real thing in, because David Walland used to always have a go at me for collecting half sovereigns. They're just so tiny.
Yeah,
You know, like, why would you collect half sovereigns?
always match the
My dear Lord Walland.
There's more half sovereigns than there are sovereigns.
Well, that's right. And one of the reasons why is because your half sovereign's 19 millimetres and your sovereign's 21.5. So, as the happy little Chinese did, they got 2 half sovereigns instead of 1 sovereign, and got their wives to shake them in a bag overnight, and then gather the extra gold dust. Another reason why they're so warm. Going back to what George was saying about forgeries, I wonder if you guys have heard the American currency. Why hasn't it changed to polymer? And my understanding is that if they brought back all the paper notes, half of them would be forgeries. Now that's probably an exaggeration, but it's in the realms of that, and that's probably the explanation why they haven't gone polymer.
And they're from North Korea, most of them.
Yeah.
Well,
Now,
I hear they're running out of gold in North Korea.
what have we got? We've got lot 733 from the last sale, at an 1883 Sydney Mint half sovereign. Now, that was one of mine, or Carol and mine, collection that we sold back in 1989. And it's been looked after by the new owner for a good while, because we sold in 1989 and now it's re-offered it in 2022. We received back in 1989 $2,700 for it, and it was graded good EF, and it's got better. It's I think it was almost unk, and I reckon that's getting closer to it too. Went for, with the gas, it cost me $2,930. So I don't think that's a great appreciation from 1989. But then you go to the books that have been constructed, and Barry Windsor spent a lot of time he loved half sovereigns as well, and extremely keen on them. But he went to the stage of counting the denticles. Oops. For the uninitiated. Oops. Oh, I'm good. Right, these are the denticles. Okay. And he's got a variety in here that's got one more denticle than the other. And this one, supposedly, I started counting them, and I'm going to have to do it again and report back to you, because I kept on jumping one or something and certainly not coming up with the right number.
The only way to count denticles is
there's
printing
meant to
out
be.
like this, and
Yeah.
then, start 10, line, 10, line, 10, line.
Right, so
'Cause-
if I've got the one that's 136 denticles, and I think it does have or I believe it does, have the G. Oh, geez, this is a rickety stage. See how the G's close to the bun of the hair? Right, there's another dye obviously being used where it's lower down. So this is fulfilling the variety that Barry Windsor's recorded, and this is a pretty old, the 2009 one. So 1881, 1883S, and you've got Almost Dunk. How much we pay? About $3,000. 23,000. The other one, 7,500. I love the coin, and it brings back memories to me, so I'm happy with that. But what else I thought I'd just point out to you guys, because I don't get that far into it, but it's a beautiful coin. And keep in mind the half sovereigns are, if you count up the mintages, I can do that easier on a calculator than I could counting these denticles. They're 40 times rarer than the sovereign. The sovereign was your bullion coin and your half sovereign for the populace, so they circulated. And this one has got a tremendous amount of mint lustre around the rim of it and free of a lot of the scratches. Where they, the obverse was designed by William Wine and the reverse by, I'll have to get a handle on this because I've been watching too much of the soccer, and you get these French names, back with the glasses, was a J.B. Merlin, a Jean-Baptiste Merlin, who worked at the Royal Mint at that time, so he did the reverse, and Wine did the obverse. For the uninitiated, if you're wanting to, because the coins have got to be just so good now to be valuable, so people believe. But I'm happy with this one being Almost Dunk, and your medieval coins, you'd be happy with VF, I think.
Yeah, they get pretty ordinary but below that.
Yeah, but anyway, if you go viewing, and you should go and view coins, of course, or auction material before, but this harp, that shows lines down there that are almost, you just won't find them even on with new dyes and such being used. So that, and the faces of the lines are sort of flattened. Can we have the obverse once more, please? But what is easy to find on your half sovereigns and your sovereigns, and this one is missing it because I think this is a worn die on the obverse. This is a kiss curl with a hair in existence, and especially you can check that on any of your sovereigns, and it's a good sign that it's an earlier die. I don't know whether I've got anything more. That's about it. Any questions, or want to help me count the denticles sometime? It's a funny way we're going though. You know, like you see the how much is being paid for the misstruck coins, and of course my belief is a lot of them are manufactured jobs in the mints, and people sneak them out for whatever reasons. So you can almost say they're forgeries.
Ross, just out of interest, how easy do you find it to find that kind of condition? There's like how many?
Oh no, well when we put the collection together over a number of years and then sold it in '89, and that was to buy a property at Smith's Lake, which my wife's going to tomorrow, but she did make up some sandwiches for us tonight and messed up the bickies, but I reckon the bickies taste okay. They're all right. The place at Smith's Lake, value-wise, like I mentioned that particular one because, and I bought back a couple of others, I felt were really good value. But for instance, the 1858 half sovereign, I think Sydney Mint half sovereign, we sold back in '89 for about, I think it was about 10 or 12,000. Has since changed hands for 80,000.
But in terms of grade, you find it really, really difficult to...
Oh yeah. I sort of stipulated EF or better,
Right.
and that took us to a higher level, and we upgraded it on somewhat, but terribly hard to find. You talk about rarities. That imperial section of the Sydney and Melbourne half sovereigns, the numbers that exist in EF or better it'd be less than the number of dumps known. And you know, they're tremendously important, the early Australian gold. A lot of them, your Sydney Mint half sovereigns, a lot of those are selling a fraction over their gold value. They're worn, but you know, most of the dumps are pretty worn, and they start at what, $1,500, $2,000, go up to 50,000. Anyway.
Fair enough, yeah. Good, thank you. Is there anyone else who's got Brisbane acquisitions? No? All right, we'll move on to the displays that we have tonight.
I'm going to turn the lights back on.
Oh.
We have our display contest in December. So we have, how many we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 displays? Is there 5?
Yeah, 5.
All right, who's the one on the end?
Who has 5?
Me.
Okay. Do you want to just stand up and give us
Tell us
an
about it.
overview,
sure.
just a brief overview of what you brought along so that we can appreciate
Yeah,
what we're going to bid?
sure.
And speak up, Gilbert, so the camera can hear it.
I'll try. I've brought a 1992 masterpiece silver of the Royal Ladies. I thought it would be nice to bring it in memory of the queen that just passed away this year. This coin was released back in 1992 to commemorate the Queen's 40th anniversary of her accession. So I thought it would be nice to bring it in. It's got the Queen as the main medallion, followed by Princess Diana, Princess Anne, the Queen Mother, and Princess Margaret. Another one I brought in is silver from Southeast Asia, a $10 Singaporean coin from 1979 with a satellite dish. I think that was when Singapore started to go with all the tech and stuff. And then I've got a Malaysian 25 ringgit from 1976, and also a Straits Settlement $1 coin from 1907 with King Edward VII on the coin. The reason I brought this in is because my parents and my background's from that part of the world. My dad's Singaporean, mom's Malaysian, so I thought I'll bring it in. And the third one is an Advent calendar that I get from my missus. What it is really just a calendar that has dates that's scattered all over the place right through to Christmas Day. And what it does is you can open up each little window each day, and it's got coins from all parts of the world. It's got coins from Botswana. It's got a 1 penny from Jersey. It's got 1 tangi from Kazakhstan. 10 cents from New Zealand, so on and so forth. So I do like it. It's a nice little gift from my missus for Christmas. Thank you.
Be nicer if there were gold coins in it, though,
I
wouldn't
wish
it?
there were. Yeah.
Right.
We can fix that.
The next is
Speak up, Paul.
the next
I've got
one
to get
is
for
an
the camera.
accumulation of different types of Netherlands East Indies coinage that I picked up, or let's say a hoard of coins found me. Many times when people travel, they go to junk shops and try to find little, lower denomination items which are cheaper. It's difficult to find items in junk shops. They're also getting less and less. You can find items in the markets, but this is a person that wanted to sell pretty much in one bit, and so I said, okay, I'll take them off you. And they're VOC coins, copper coins, and it's based mostly out of nostalgia reasons. There's something which is a little bit better. I mean, these coins which were Javanese dates from 1813 and 1814 dates, and they do fetch decent money on eBay and also in auctions, but I bought the whole thing. And I had fun sorting out through the low condition, heavily corroded, and picking up a few items which are in better condition. So for the people that are interested, they can have a look and see what I've picked up.
Thank you. Yes?
Well, members, I've got a little collection here of stuff. It's probably the title of the exhibit, really. Stuff I haven't shown you before that I can remember. That's essentially what it was about. But it's subtitled plastic packaging because there's a lot of that, and because some of them are odd sizes and shapes. So not a lot of relation, if you like, from the various items other than they're fairly recent, so I could have showed you acquisitions and skipped the display. But I'll just quickly go through them. There's a lot to know about this, but I bought in this NAA journal of a long time ago, volume 6, it shows you how old it is, and on the picture is a picture of a medallion. And that medallion is called the Products of New South Wales medallion, and it was made for an exhibition in Paris in 1855. Some of you who sort of follow the 19th century, great world of exhibitions in the 19th century, middle 19th century, and probably most famous one is the British one where under the auspices of Prince, what's his name? Albert.
Crystal Palace.
In the great exhibition where they made the Crystal Palace in Hyde Park and eventually took it to another place and it burnt down eventually 100 years later. Nevertheless, New South Wales, the colony, wasn't pretty well organised for that. And they put something in it, but not much. So when the Paris one was advertised, they thought we'd better do something about this, and so they set about designing a prize medal. And in this article, it tells you all about it, more than you ever want to know about this medal, including who won all the prizes, who were the donations given to. There were a couple of people to give to VIPs. There was a silver and a bronze one. I've only got a bronze one, but that was a lovely thing. And for instance, a pair was given to Prince Albert, and a pair was given to Louis Napoleon, who just declared himself Emperor of the French. So they went to important people. I've left it in the plastic, not so much because it looks good through plastic, it looks terrible through plastic, but it saves all the fingerprints looking at it. The main picture on it, I've probably seen it better from this picture, is you see a seated figure, that's meant to be Imperial France. The figure with the helmet on, that's Britannia, and here she's introducing her young protege, New South Wales, who is represented by the figure of a young girl, and behind her is a kangaroo, as this girl is to wonder where she came from. That's on the obverse. The reverse is a very complicated picture of views around Sydney and New South Wales in particular. And so if you do have a look at it, you can even put it up there, but not now, but carry on. That was the first thing I was going to do, and that was all I was going to do, but I thought, no, maybe that's a bit weak, so just brought a few other things. This is worth looking under the microscope because we've seen some beautiful work, dye work, that Ross has just shown on Sydney, the Sydney Sovereign. But I've always admired this coin. It's a gold, it's about the equivalent in value of 1.5 sovereigns, right? It's a 1 mohur, and it's the 1840 East India Company, so-called, then pretty defunct by then, but picture of Queen Victoria on. And this is a Wyon coin as well, Wyon design. It was made in London.
William Wyon.
1841.
Yeah, WW.
But it's the reverse, I think, is the nicest thing of all. Let's check on the reverse. These things are bloody valuable. It's beautiful coins.
This a Roy von Bock?
Hmm?
This was from Noble Auction recently?
No, I bought this overseas. Paid too much for it, as you do, but nevertheless.
You'll recover.
It's they're beautiful, and the Persian writing, the Farsi coin under the 1 mohur, but it's a bigger coin. It's like a 1.5 pound type coin. So that's probably. But
in about 2 auctions ago, Jim had like 20 of these, all belonging to our former member Roy von Bock.
Yeah.
Roy died 5 years ago, but he had dementia before, and he specifically collected gold.
Mm-hmm.
I remember he always had a beautiful collection of gold,
Yep.
but he had about 20 of these gold mohurs, and they are absolutely beautiful coins.
There's two portraits actually in them. The other portrait is very much like the first portrait of the Sydney Mint 1855 coin. They're sort of more swept back hair and so on of the Queen. But goes to show what they could do in those days. All right, do you want me to leave it there or? No, I'll put it
Grant will probably want to photograph it.
I'll put it back in the display.
Yeah, you can photograph it over there.
There's one other. I've got the other things I've got quickly. I've got a. This is a recent acquisition. Where is it? Anybody got a half crown or crown Queen Elizabeth I? Know anything about them? They're very scarce. She had about 7 mintages during her fairly longish reign, and she died in 1603. And in 1601, the 7th mintage came along, and at this stage, all she'd minted up to that point in the silver line were up to shillings. And they decided, oh, we need a half crown a crown. So 2 years before she died, in what will that be? 1601 and 1602, they made these crowns and half crowns. And in the half crown, they've got a mint mark, 1 or 2, depending on whether it was made in 1601 or 1602. This one, you have a look at it, it's just got a 1 on it.
Was it a milled or hammered?
2 is a lot dearer.
Milled or hammered?
Oh, they hammered. Yes, no. She experimented. I'll show you quickly. She experimented with her with milling during her reign, but nothing stuck. So this is a hammered one. Can you get any light on that, or? Well, it's not great, but it's not bad either. For great, you're going to pay a huge amount of money.
That is pretty good.
This is a half crown. Yeah, and yes.
So David, what grade would you say that is? What grade?
Would I say that was? Probably VF. Not necessarily good VF, but close enough. It's yeah. You can see just on the sort of the side of the shield there, some of the fleur-de-lis are not quite struck up well, and the lions and the leopards. But it's not a bad coin. It's a good coin, and they're very, very hard to get.
Yeah.
No, you've got to fight them off in the spink auction to get anything like that.
You don't see many of those.
No, yeah, anyway, so I'll put that back too.
You know, you
But
see.
the other one I've got, interestingly, it's got a connection to it, but it's an earlier coin, but of her successor. The earlier coin of her successor. Well, that's an odd thing to say, but in fact it is. I may have shown you this one before, I just can't remember now, but James VI of Scotland,
James I of England.
when he was the Scottish king, and he always was, a bit younger, so he's only a teenager there. This is 1583, so 4 years before they executed his poor mother, Mary Queen of Scots. And this is a Scottish equivalent to a half crown. So I do collect half crowns, and but in fact in Scots money, when they were very debased, you had a Scottish shilling was worth an English penny. So XXX, you'll see that under there, on the side there, that's 30 shillings Scots. 30 pennies English, half a crown. Anyway, interesting one. All right, I'll put that back as well. These are scarce to get too, especially the portrait of the young king there with his half length. And there's no point in putting this under there, but another example of packaging. Who knows about these grading service plastic packs? Slabbing they call it. I hate them personally.
The Sheldon,
But that's just the way it
Sheldon
came.
series, yeah.
And nowadays the tendency in overseas auctions is to slab everything. They don't ask you, and they you just get it. So they don't even often tell you whether it's been slabbed or not. So I got that one from Spink, but it's a lovely coin, 2 guinea, young George II. So I want you to have a look at that, that's easy. And don't worry about handling that, doesn't matter about thumbprints and anything on it. They're perfectly safe. That's the beauty of them. That's the only beauty. But I'll have to show you this one. This is the last one I'll show you. And it's not really related, except it is Tudor, and there was an English. So I've shown you the daughter, this is the father. And this is the oldest one I've got. And not quite medieval, but it's a lovely coin and really interesting. You recognise that? Who recognise that as the Henry VIII groat? Young head Henry VIII groat.
Yeah.
Well, so it is. And it gives his titles there, including proclaiming to be King of France. The other side is the more interesting thing. Just turn the other side. Just the typical shield. It's got a nice bit of mint lustre, this, so put the shield the correct way up. With another, sort of, a bit, if I could, just a bit further, because it's, Now, instead of the Civitas London, I often see in these things, different mint. Civitas Eboracum. Who knows what that means? York. That's the Latin name for York. So this was York mint. And who the heck was the Archbishop of York at that stage? Thomas Wolsey, who was the Chancellor of England. And at that stage he'd only just been made a cardinal. Now, the cardinal sort of is a different kind of animal from an archbishop. An archbishop has a bishopric, and a sort of a flock to go with. A cardinal is just a prince of the church, but it's still a high rank. And he was awarded this. And how do I know that he was cardinal from the coin? Just see at the bottom there, there's actually a picture of a cardinal's hat. The cardinal had this big wide-brimmed hat with sort of some tie strings on it. And when you go all over Europe and you see palaces where there ever was a cardinal, and it always has it engraved in stone somewhere usually, that this man was such an important thing they went to. So there you are. Thomas Wolsey also built Hampton Court, and he was made Bishop of London, Bishop of Lincoln, Archbishop of York, and then a Cardinal of the Roman Church, and Chancellor. Chancellor of England, but it was the most lucrative post he got. But very famous person. So that's more about Thomas Wolsey than it is about Henry VIII.
No, but a lot of those, are they clipped to test the silver?
You what?
Is it the edges clipped to test the silver?
You can see where the dye has been, and it's not quite centred. Okay, so you always get this problem with hammered coins. If it doesn't strike and centred, you get the bits that fold up, and then they're under stress, you see, and they get a little crack in them. That's perfectly acceptable in a hammered coin of this age.
That one looks
because
good.
when you look at the coin up close, you see it's got some lovely tonings of the striking itself. So it didn't see much wear, this coin. And and in fact, if you look, can you see the W on the side there? Just on the side of the shield, on that side, in the middle? Yeah. The W. And then there's a T on the other side. Thomas Wolsey. It's got his name on it. He's telling you, under his jurisdiction. It was probably made in the York Archbishop Mint. They had a separate mint from the city mint. So, yeah. All right.
So he paid for
I'll leave it to you.
for Hampton Court.
Patrick Finn. It's got a ticket of Patrick Finn too. He's famous municipalist in Britain. Last one is an easy one. Morgan silver dollar, packaged in its original packaging. Know about the Morgan dollars from Carson City? Everyone know about that? Carson City was a very obscure mint and a mine in Nevada, just close to Californian border. When they did away with silver dollars in America in the 1900s, they melted most of them down. But nobody bothered to check in this obscure mint. I'd probably even forgotten it existed. And then later on they were going through it in about the 1950s, and they discovered these boxes full of uncirculated silver dollars from 1880, get it right, 1883. And so I got one. And there's a nice silver note in it, in the card packaging. As we approach America's bicentennial, this historic silver dollar is one of the most valued reminders of our national heritage. Richard Nixon. Tricky diggy. So, there you go.
Come on, thank you, David.
Sorry to be so good.
So who's next?
That'd be me.
Is it you?
Yeah, that'd be me. I just brought along some of my sovereigns and also my most recent acquisition there of an 1873 Sydney Shield sovereign. This is part of my collection. There's also a counterfeit in the top left-hand corner. Because it's an 1853, I couldn't afford one of them, so I got a counterfeit just to fill the hole. All right, that's about it.
Thank you. Final one?
Frank,
Frank.
I recognise the $2 coins.
Yeah, just the coloured $2 coins. I think I've got quite a few of them, but there's a few missing, of course. A couple of them, just to me, absolutely crazy the prices some of these are bringing. Like the 60th anniversary of the Queen, I've seen them for $200. And that's, to me, it's just crazy. But I bought a lot more. It's just as a gap filler, really, in case there wasn't anything else to show. But some of them are quite nice and do sort of commemorate quite significant events, I suppose you might say. But overall, they don't seem to last. Like, even though they're coloured, to me, the colours are not staying. Just even something that's, say, only last year, a lot of them, the colours are already gone off them. So
Once they get into circulation, it wears off. Yeah.
they haven't really made a good job of them, I don't think, myself. But most of them are produced and distributed by the Royal Mint. There are those that I'm not quite sure because I haven't studied or go with other things, sort of made to order, say, sort of like some Woolworths and what have you. They might bring out. I think they brought out the Wiggles and that type of thing.
Yeah. Wiggles, Olympics, Commonwealth Games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fine.
At the last Noble auction, there were a couple of lots of the $2 coins. $2 coins have gone mad, like Frank was saying, especially the packaged ones with the C Mint mark, which are very rare coins. They had one lot lot 3009, 3009, which was about $142 coins in them. The bulk of them were the Woolworths coins. But amongst them was the 2018 set that the Mint put out. From 2012 onwards, the Mint was putting out the coloured $2 coins. Including in 2012, they put out one with the poppy centre, but a red poppy centre. And the only ones that were issued for circulation didn't have a red poppy centre. The red poppy centre was only in the ones that were issued for the RSL and that the Royal Australian Mint put out itself with a C Mint mark. And the Royal Australian Mint one, when they were selling them at the time, they were selling them for $12. Now, things have gone mad. I had one of those because I collect these coins, and I thought myself, you know, I'm stupid because I would pay the $12 or the $15 for the packed one with the C Mint mark. But the prices went up. That's stupid. I took my coin back to Wynyard Coins to Joe there and said, hey Joe, would you like to buy it? I'll sell it to you for 75% of the price you're advertising on your website. Said, yeah, I'll buy it. So I got $300 and something for it. So thank you. But getting back to lot 3009, they had a pack that the Mint put out in 2018 of all the coloured coins that they made. So they made 1 or 2 a year. And there were 12 in this pack. But they were all dated 2018, not 2013, 2014, etc., but the original. So all 2018 in the pack. And they were, when they issued it, they were asking $80. So there was $24 face value that they wanted $80 for. And even though I would have liked it, I said, no, I'm not paying that much of a premium just for a packed one. But they had one of these in the auction. And so there's 140 coins. Simon had lotted it, and he just estimated, we said, okay, $142 coins, we'll start it off at $280 face value. So I thought, hey, this is good, you know, I mean, you have this 12 coin pack that is retailing for $900 in there. So I'm being quite miserly. I put in a $700 bid. Needless to say, I didn't get it. But I found out that somebody bought it for $1,650. And I did my sort of calculation, say, hey, you know, with the 22% commission, that's close to $2,000 that they paid for it. And I was sort of thinking, that is more than the retail price. You know, you're paying $900 for this, plus all the others. Somebody paid a lot of money on the fad, but $2 coins, they're mad.
Well, the latest poppy, 2022,
Yeah.
they're selling they're selling for over $300 and only $15 and $12
Issue
postage.
price, yeah.
And not just one, all of them, they're snapping them up all the time.
Yeah, well, I thought they had a problem with inflation, right?
Well, I don't know.
And the Royal Australian Mint has changed the mintages recently on their website. A short time ago, there was the 2020 $2, coloured $2, and it was for the 75th anniversary of the end of World War II. And they had on their website, mintage was 600,000. And you couldn't find that coin. It was really hard to find. The mintage has changed now to 2 million. You still can't find the coin, but the dealers are still selling them for $15 each, if you can get them.
But not in
Yeah.
circulation.
But it's a fad, and you know, quite frankly, I have sold a lot of my coins back to Wynyard Coins and anybody else who would buy them at a stupid price. And I'll wait until the fad evaporates and the prices come back to reality, and maybe buy them back again later on.
Well, it seems to be heading backwards now on the internet.
Yeah.
All right then, is there anything else that anyone wants to bring up? No. With the display contest, Rod has little bits of paper. What you need to do is you need to have a look at the displays and decide which one you like the most
Voting form?
and vote for that particular. Thank you. Vote for that particular display, because I then have to get all the voting slips back, and then we work out who had the best display. Okay, so yeah, please, if you get the better card, Rod's probably got the only pen in existence at the moment. But yeah, have a look at the displays. We're going to close the meeting now, and we're going to have our Christmas function, our coffees and teas and whatever else we brought along, refreshments. And while we're having the refreshments, I'll collate the
Put your votes in there.
Is it what?
There's a little slit there for the votes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. We need 13 bits of paper in there. Not 14 or 15, just 13, all right?
Shouldn't be.
So,
I
that
better
way-
get a voting form for myself.
Eh? Well, you're going to put your display out now. All right, so that's what we're going to do. Thank you all for coming. Our next meeting, as I said earlier, is in January, but it's here at 8 o'clock. All right, so I'll see you all then. Thank you for coming. George.
Good sovereign you had, our sovereign. So that's one you own and bought it back, right? Good. Yeah, you paid more or less than this.
A little bit more, not much more than that, which is ridiculous.
Well, that's okay.
Oh, yeah. This area is 164.
Quite a few spares of some of them. I've been getting it from the local chemist shop because the girls well trained there, and surprising how many come in there.
Yeah.
I don't know where people are getting them from, but last week I got the front line and that one.
I'd like to see how much they
Yeah, they will discolor over a period of time.
Yeah, but I say, but
Especially in this plastic.
Do you just put one
even
number?
so, you know,
Yeah, either 5, 6, 7, 8 or 9.
1, 2, 3,
some of
right?
the paints are
No.
You just put the one number?
5. Yeah, just
only
just
one number.
only one number. Yeah,
Yeah, it peels off.
only the one number you think is
Especially
best.
green, but it looks blue to me.
yeah, well, I'd call that blue myself.
Yeah. This one here I found was hard to find. Oh, that's that 75th anniversary one, I think it is.
We've also got a number of odd, well, we call them odd, $1.
Yeah.
Some of the dinosaurs and something else, and a couple of the alphabet, and one from way back, something about adventure to Australis or something. Something I've heard of before, but it's well circulated.
But it went for 17. No, well, but the trouble is, when I was more rapidly connecting, I remember there was one at the time for 3 days. You know, and I tried to buy it and I went over 6. And
You voted?
No, I can't pay that, but I should have.
Vote early, vote often.
And yet you forget though, that it's really the currency that's depreciating.
Yeah.
That seems to necessarily.
Got a hand or
Although they used to try and buy a euro line. You know, they used to hold
Yeah.
one.
Well, I always wanted one of those years ago, you know, and they, sort of, yeah, a bit more, about $20,000.
Yeah, I know, try and buy it. They're always been valuable things, the first minted, first mill type coin and all of a crumble, but God,
Safe and object?
they're there these days too. Everything's here.
You told tonight,
That's an interesting.
So which one is the crazy one? This one?
No, but I'm
No.
going to look at it more
He
closely.
doesn't have it as
Because I like
one
that
like
New
that,
South
but with a
Wales
red poppy.
New South Wales
one like
plantation.
this.
You know, like I've
Dated 2012,
Okay, I'll have a look.
but they only came out in packs,
Oh, no, no.
never issued in circulation.
So,
This was a hard one to get. This is the 2012, but it just came out.
this one here,
That was the
is it?
not 2020, 2020, the 75th anniversary of World War II.
But also packed, not
When you look at
circulation.
the other side,
Yeah.
there's just,
But some of the early years, 12, 13, 14, some of them fetching big money now. I'm talking, big